Hi, I'm Doug Petrie, and I wrote the episode entitled The Initiative, which you are about to see and enjoy. She actually worked in the Buffy office, and I guess, they cast her because she has a really nice body, but she's gone now. And she actually has a small part in Jerry Maguire. If you watch Jerry Maguire, when Tom Cruise gets fired, she laughs. So everybody liked that girl. And here's Mark Blucas as Riley. He's really the Jimmy Stewart of the Buffy universe. You know, he's this big square doof, and I love that he's correcting papers.
She's Buffy.
And he's ignoring Buffy. This was hard too, getting the kind of physical comedy of Buffy being a big spaz because she's got Slayer reflexes. But we just went with a broad comedy of the yogurt machine and the soda machine all kind of overflowing on her. And here's Riley's best friend Forrest saying, come on, tell me you don't like this girl. And he's like, she's peculiar, which, the biggest giveaway in romantic comedies ever. I always wanted to do Buffy as kind of John Belushi in Animal House and just eating Jellos and eating pizzas and eating hamburgers and stuff and putting Jello and pizzas on hamburgers and eating those just because the Slayer would have that kind of appetite. But not going to happen, so we had the yogurt machine overflow. This guy's named Graham Miller. Graham Miller was a really good friend of mine in college, and originally I wanted him to be as large as the real Graham Miller, who was this huge Canadian football player. And these are, Riley and his two guys, kind of the comic relief. And right now, as far as we know, all they are is, they're frat boys. They're fraternity boys, And the big question is, what is Riley really? Because everybody's got a secret in the Buffy universe, and we're going to find out what his secret is. Originally, the title of this episode was Secret Agent Man, but we might as well have called the episode, Oh My God, Buffy's new boyfriend is actually a secret agent, so we changed it to The Initiative. And here we have James as Spike in an environment we've never seen, and what I like about this is that it's kind of, Buffy's always been dark and magical and, supernatural, and this is our first foray into The Prisoner or Star Trek or science fiction. We've never done straight up sci-fi on the show, or sky-fi as I like to call it, and here it is. Where is he? Big mystery. And Carrie Meyer, our set design guy, did an awesome job with this. And here's a little Star Trek, touch the gate, and that's straight out of Star Trek. I loved that when you're in the brig in Star Trek, there was no door keeping you there. There was just electric bolts. And here we see a bunch of vampires in this long corridor. Now, if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see, well, you go back, rewind, and look on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that it's actually literally done with mirrors. People give you a wise guy answer in Hollywood. They go, how's it done? Well, it's done with mirrors. That was literally done with mirrors. That set was half as big as it looked. You know what I love about the opening credits? Faith and Buffy dance together, even though Faith has been off the show for a while. Wait, it's coming, it's coming. Allison Hannigan, who's a doll. There we go. That's just fun. And it's over now. And James really grew on the show. This is where I love working with James. I think he's just a great, great guy and a terrific actor. Just can do anything we throw at him. This was the first time that I really got to know James, and it was really my pleasure. I was around on set when they were filming a scene with Spike and Willow later on in the episode, which became a fan favorite. Here we got Giles and Xander kind of sitting around bored because there's no action, which I really like. And Nick is just funny, and these two are just funny together, and we got to give them some scenes together later in the episode. I just love the monster fighters are bored and they miss Buffy. I think Contner directed this. Contner was like kind of our James Bond guy. He did, great big action-packed episodes extremely well. And this is one of them. This is our first James Bond episode of Buffy, so that made me very happy. It's part James Bond, part Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. trying to point out that, this guy is just a guy. It's not part of Buffy's world. She turns down the assignment of going to look for this guy because it's not supernatural. And that really sets up the whole season. These guys are just human beings delving in the supernatural world, and it's not part of Buffy's world and not part of Buffy's responsibility. And that's the tension throughout the season, the initiative for well-funded secret agent opera. This is my favorite part, the written by Douglas Petrie part. I keep pressing the producers to make that in neon and have the letters jump around on screen and play kind of like John Philip Sousa music, but they promise they'll get back to me. And Sarah's very cute here, talking about going out to find something slutty to wear. And here we are. I was a big fan, and Joss was as well, of the TV show The Prisoner. As a kid, it was a very creepy 60s science fiction, very existential show, and a lot of The Prisoner shows up in this, just kind of who are your captors, what's it all about, the mystery of it, the creepiness of it. It's hard to deal with blood on the show. This is one of the few times that we actually had like a packet of blood that you see it. Well, actually, when Angel was getting fed at the warehouse, we did that a lot too, but it's always creepy to see actual packets of blood. It reminds you how horrible these guys are. And this is one of the first times we've seen vampires as victims, which I like, that you kind of see that something's worse than the vampires here, and whoever's keeping them is worse. So there's a lot of mystery, I hope, in this episode. Who's keeping us here? Is the Nazis, a major cosmetics company? We just like taking a gratuitous slam at cosmetics companies because they were testing on bunnies at the time this episode was written. Also, we had a big argument, not really an argument, but a discussion about how heroic Spike should be, and I was dead wrong where I was saying Spike is going to escape from this later in the episode, and I thought, well, this is hard to do because it makes him seem heroic, and Jane Espenson at the time was saying, no, he should seem heroic, and I was like, no, Spike's the villain, he shouldn't seem heroic, and Joss Whedon came in and said, newsflash, he's heroic in this scene. He's, gigantically heroic. He's, James Bond escaping from Blofeld. Buffy with her stupid pen, that she's supposed to be the most brilliant tactician in the show, and, she's just barely struggling through her freshman year in college. And here we got, Allie dealing with missing Oz the way, we all missed Seth Green. It was sad Seth Green left the show. We really liked him. He was a great, great character, Oz. And, but now he's gone, and we had to deal with that. She says he's going to be back soon, but she knows she's wrong. And here we got Lindsay Krause, who, was a big coup to get. It was our first big name, I think. Well, John Ritter. So it's our second big name on the show. Lindsay Krause, did a bunch of David Mamet movies and was married to him for a while and did House of Games. And, she's a major actress. So getting her was a big deal. And I liked writing her dialogue. Every condescending professor I ever had, I got revenge on by writing this thing about being neither a freshman nor a narcissist. What a bitch. And here Buffy sets her straight, which is kind of fun too. Buffy standing up to her and Riley looking on. So you get what's fun about writing for this show is that you get to do a bunch of things at once. So here you get to show that Buffy's heroic. You get to show that Maggie Walsh is very strict and, could go either way. And then you get this kind of mom and son relationship here where Maggie is, God, he needs a haircut. But Maggie's kind of a mom figure to Blucas, and he likes Buffy. Xander, I almost forgot, Xander used to be a commando guy, We had to deal with the fact that he, 2 Halloweens ago, became a commando by virtue of the fact that he was dressed up as a soldier, and he inherited all military knowledge of a soldier, of that degree. And we didn't know if we wanted to keep Xander that kind of super-powered for that long. And here, I think it was David Fury came up with the idea, it's been 2 years. Shouldn't the spell just kind of be wearing off by now? And the answer is yes. And, Xander's living in his basement. We knew that Xander wasn't going to stay in his basement forever, but this is kind of him at the height of his most pathetic and lost. You know, he's living in his basement. He's living in Wayne's World, and he's not even a commando anymore. Protesting too much. You know, he's saying, I know how to do this, but he really doesn't. Yes, Mom. I lived in the basement for a long time. I lived in the basement throughout my senior year in high school. And Giles wants the fruit punch. This was a scene that Joss really had in mind from the beginning. He knew that, and here's, you know, spoiler alert, he knew that Riley was going to punch somebody. And we wanted to have him do that, and I like that. And here we have Parker, whom everybody hated. Everybody just hated this guy because he slept with Buffy and then he blew her off. And we kind of put it in a little bit casually, but man, the fans responded to that. That's just something you do not do. And this guy's good at playing just a total creep. Looks like he's surrounded already, though. It looks like he's gonna, you know he's gonna get punched. And here Jimmy Stewart gets pissed. He didn't like the way he was talking about Buffy. But we'll find out later that for Riley to punch a guy is wrong, not just for the reasons that punching people is wrong, which it is, but also because he's got a secret and he can't be, you know, he can't have his cover blown. So it's extra dumb for Riley to be drawing attention to himself and punching people, which we'll find out later. And here he's figuring out he loves Buffy. Classic romantic comedy stuff. You know, and these guys are kind of like, you know, the Shakespearean characters who kind of help you figure out what your heart really means when you can't figure it out yourself. You know, we do Shakespeare with ray guns and shit. Can I say that? Okay. I'm checking to see if I can say dirty words on this. So, Yahoo, I can. I'll be cursing like a sailor. And here's where we go into full-blown sci-fi again, which I really enjoy. This is really well shot, I have to say. I love the color scheme. We've never seen the Buffy world look this sterile before, and I think that the director and the set designer and the lighting guys just did a brilliant job with this, as they always do. This is just something a little bit new. Spike's faking it. He's got to see a girl. Now this is the first time, this is a little tricky, this is the first time that we establish, and we don't know yet, that when Spike hits somebody, he gets into serious searing pain. This was a very difficult thing to kind of sell the concept of, and we don't really get into it specifically until the beginning of Act 4. This is the beginning of Act 2. For those of you at home who like to know what act is when, this is the top of Act 2, as we say in the business, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer writing business. See, that punch should have hurt Spike a lot. If he hits a human being, he gets hurt. This was, you know, we Clockwork Oranged Spike. And that guy who's running out, he was part of Sunday's gang. Here's the big heroic moment. That's total James Bond stuff. And again, anybody who knows The Prisoner will know this. Gas masks. There he goes again. So yeah, he had a big heroic moment. I really like that Spike got that. Again, one of the fun things about writing for Buffy is you get to do all these different things. It's not a comedy, it's not a romance, it's not an action show, it's not a horror show, it's not a sci-fi show, it's not a soap opera, it's not a coming-of-age story, it's all of those things. And this is, you know, Joss Whedon's vision adding yet another layer where, you know, here you've got heartbroken Willow because Oz has left her. The chocolate poster in the background. It's so girly. And Riley's such a man. Riley's really lost in, you know, the world of girly empowerment. I'm going to get in trouble for saying girly empowerment, I think. I don't think it's a phrase that's going to catch on. I like this. Buffy's bag of weapons is lying there. And will Riley see them, will they not? And Willow's doing this, you know, she's heartbroken and she's not sure about this guy, and she's hiding Buffy's secret identity at the same time. Everybody's got a secret on this show. And he's such a gent, he helps move the bag of weapons without looking to see that it's a bag of weapons. We also like the very real-life application here that what Riley is doing is it's a little Machiavellian. You know, he's not a dope. He's going after Buffy through the best friend. If you can get the best friend, you have a better shot at getting the girl, is the idea. I don't know if that works with girls too, if they get the guy's best friend to be interested. Because if girls do it with guys, then the guy's best friend would just want to sleep with her. Guys are disgusting. As Willow is talking about here. This was a fun monologue to write. And then you see Riley's got a little bit of a sense of humor where he says, yep, that's the plan. You know, he's self-aware. I don't think we've ever done just a straight-up square before on the show. What I liked about working with the character of Riley and the actor Mark Blucas is that we started him out as just such a kind of cornbread Iowa square. And then what we came to is that he just got darker and darker and darker. You know, the world he's in gets darker. He was this big, highfalutin American metaphor where he realizes the government that he works for is dirty. He has to question his own team. There were a lot of, you know, big political metaphors going on there. You know, is the initiative kind of getting into its own Vietnam and that sort of thing? And he's still just a college guy who wants a girlfriend, so. But he's genuinely liking Willow. We had to be careful with these scenes because the chemistry between these two was so good. A lot of the fans thought, oh, you know, this is going to be the twist. It's going to be a Riley-Willow romance, which would have been an interesting way to go. And then Buffy could have been all jealous that Willow got the guy that was intended for her. Chemistry between these two is great, and there's a party scene later on where they really click. But I think, you know, I could watch Allison Hannigan read the phone book and be charmed. We should try that. We should give her a scene where she just gets a phone book and see if it works. This was a set that we built on, you know, just the poor little Harmony with her unicorn poster. You know, it was just a standalone set, you know, regular set that we built a dorm room for Buffy that, you know, is 10 times the size of any freshman's dorm room ever. Now, Mercedes, who plays Harmony, is an incredible actress, and the thing that she does so beautifully is we write these scenes for her that are strictly comedy, and we're kind of making fun of the character because, you know, she's such a boob. But when she plays the scenes, she brings the real pathos to it, and you find yourself really caring about her getting her feelings hurt. She's a brilliant actress. She really brings these nice layers to it, and Harmony and Spike and their romance, or whatever you want to call it, is just hilarious. And they really nailed it. You know, it's just such a weird pairing. You know, these two do not belong together. Gives the actors a lot to play, and she's so in love with him, and he's just the worst boyfriend ever. He was a lousy boyfriend to Drusilla, and he loved her, and this is just kind of so beneath him. But the sex is great, so he sticks around. He's a bad guy. And I love that we gave Harmony kind of a dirty side. She's just going to slap you around. I could do that. This scene got cut way short, which I'm very happy about. There was a long scene here. And this was originally supposed to be Martin Sheen's narration from Apocalypse Now. We just literally quoted him talking about somewhere out in the bush, Charlie is waiting. And the scene went on forever, but we just ended it with Giles saying, "Oh, shut up," and it got a huge laugh. The big party scene. When we shoot these party scenes, the extras have to dance to the same song for like 7 hours straight. I don't know how they don't, you know, just go completely insane. Gee, I wish we had some pretty actresses on the show. And Sarah, in case you're watching this DVD, that was sarcasm. You are very, very pretty. I love these two together. I actually had that shirt for a while. It was very weird. I was wearing that shirt, and then I saw Blucas wearing the shirt when they were filming it. Wow, I'm just like Riley. And then the writers, producers, cast, and crew all reminded me that no, in fact, I'm not. They were right, of course. He's just cooler. But I love watching these two together. Allison can do just about anything, and I love that she's, even though her own heart is broken, she's protective of Buffy. And there's a moment here, and look, oh, she's so sad, and she's alone, and she's at a party, even though her boyfriend left her, and she's just great. There's a moment later, too, where, okay, here he's just being a big doof, which I love. Buffy likes cheese, is the big piece of information he has. Anytime you can get a punchline involving cheese. Big funny, big fat funny. The fight scene that's about to come is one of my favorite all-time moments on the show. And again, Xander regained his dignity in a huge way later on, but he did have to kind of lose his dignity first. And here's where we realize that he has lost all his commando fighting skills. And I love their tough guy dialogue and the way it's shot like it's going to be the fight of the century. They're both so cool. It's like you never deal with like just the way people actually fight, and this is kind of how I think any of us would actually fight if we got into a fight. And what the director did that was brilliant is that it's the stupidest fight ever, and then he goes to slow motion. And when we saw this, we just lost it. It's the greatest, worst fight ever. We never had people fighting badly ever. I love this you know, giant spastic stalemate. Let's both just stop. Let's both just stop. And they're like, okay. Yeah, real fights in real life never look as cool as fights on TV or in movies. And I think that was the most realistic fight we've ever done. Poor Xander. But again, you get to do a lot of things in this show. Nothing is done randomly. It wasn't just a comedy scene. He gets this vital piece of information that Spike is back. The other thing we learned about Mercedes is that we always played Harmony as just kind of a joke, but she's really beautiful and she really can play this kind of sexy part really, really well. So she's bringing all these levels to it. She's hurt, she's sexy, she's lonely, she's sad, she's dangerous. She's alone. And here I love watching these two after he struck out. I stole this from Joss is very ambitious, as we all know, and he said something about, he went home to his wife and said, I failed. And she said, but honey, you failed the most. And here I have Willow saying, you failed really, really well. Riley's not used to failing in anything. You know, he's kind of this golden boy. And now he's losing Buffy. And this was the scene where we had to be a little bit careful because we thought that it looked like these two were going to get together. So this is Blucas at his most pristine, and remember, again, we still think he's just this frat boy. You know, he's just this college guy. There's a moment here that I love where Willow hates the song. Now watch when Riley brings his finger across his throat. And he instantly gets results. And that little moment, that's what I love about Blucas and what he does so well, is that when he's the guy in charge, it's just boom, he's in charge. You know, he's just this great big all-American star, which is a great thing to be. We're thinking of bringing him back in season 6. Let's see, it is now Halloween 2001. Hopefully, we will be bringing him back very, very soon. We don't know for a single episode, but we just don't know. And here he gets back into it, and we all know this feeling. He's, you know, trying to get the girl's attention and just can't. And Buffy doesn't know what to make of this guy. And also, he's a big guy. He's like 6'1", 6'2", and Sarah is, you know, is a little person, littler person. Again, Sarah, if you're listening to this, you're very pretty. The size difference was just great. And here we love playing the misunderstanding. You know, it's classic romantic comedy stuff, the misunderstanding. He thinks that Xander's the boyfriend. And again, you got these two Shakespearean characters saying, you blew it, we know what your heart wants, you don't know what your heart wants, and we know that we can see the bigger picture. But he's determined. Now this is straight out of True Lies. This was the big moment and what the whole episode was built around, and my favorite part. This is where we see what's really going on with these guys. And True Lies has a scene like this where Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger are talking about domestic issues while they go into this giant secret chamber. And I love the casual stuff that these guys have. The big elevator. We've never seen a set like this before. And they never say, hey, we're secret agents. They're not talking about secret agent stuff. That's the fun part. One girl is his voice identification words, which I really like because that's what's on his mind. This was filmed at Skunk Works, about an hour, I think, south of LA. This is where they actually built the stealth bombers. So if this looks like a giant James Bond government installation set, it's because it's filmed on a giant James Bond government installation set. But they weren't really practicing on demons. And I love the giant white ball in the background. It's straight out of The Prisoner. And here we see these guys are experimenting on demons and these big wide shots of the whole scope of the place. And this is where the place really looks huge. And we've never seen anything like this on Buffy before. And again, those giant white balls in the background are not only an homage to The Prisoner. Ah, Maggie Walsh, look, she's so evil, she's so evil. Evil mom. You know, we've done evil parent figures before. This is like the evil mom. Oh, those giant white balls are not only a Prisoner homage, but also they're used for lighting. They shoot those up in the sky, they float those up in the sky and light them, and you get this beautiful moonlight at night. So there you go, little Hollywood inside stuff. You know, and we've never seen people with Kevlar vests and commandos and science. This is really, you know, season 4 is all about science versus magic. And the Scooby Gang is all about magic, and these guys are all about science. And the way you'll see the season progress, I love that. You know, you can't go wrong with a bunch of commandos on a moving cart with their big machine guns. It's all wonderfully phallic. You know, this is straight out of The Spy Who Loves Me, who loved me, past tense. The Spy Who Shagged Me. And here we see, this is where I loved Blucas. You know, Riley giving commands. He's so good at it, and he just looks so good in that outfit. The science versus magic thing is what the whole season is about, and what's great about this is that these guys really look like they have their act together, and that they know what they're doing, and that they're on top of things. And the Scooby Gang, who uses magic, are falling apart, and will continue to fall apart throughout the season. But at the very end of the season, magic wins, which I think is kind of fun. The science doesn't work, the magic does, because that's what our show is really. It's almost like we're taking a field trip to another TV show. This is very different for Buffy. And this is more what we're used to, is kind of putting together Scooby Gang scenes in Giles' apartment. And I love even, I never noticed at the time, but Nick is kind of dressed up in his pseudo-commando gear. It's almost like He wants to be one of the initiative guys, but he hasn't found his place in the world yet. But do not worry, fans. When Xander does find his place in the world, he's going to do a lot better than any of the initiative guys ever did. They just think they have their act together, but they don't. Like it's the most useless thing in the world, but again, it could be exposition. That flare gun could show up later. I'm betting. It's a great dress. And I love that all the other guys are wearing Kevlar and stuff, and Buffy is just in this slinky dress. Going, how does Spike find Buffy if he can't hurt anybody? Like, well, he can hurt property. He can do property damage. And here's the big... Oh, these are all people who work on the show, by the way. These are all crew members. And here's the Barbra Streisand line. My little homage to Babs. Again, here we're in, like, you know, an episode of Secret Agent Man or something. And these guys have, like, their tricorders. I think we have a close-up somewhere here of the gear that these guys get, the hardware. And here again, we were trying to do classic screwball romantic comedy. Buffy is sending herself out there as bait because she knows that Spike is around, so she's just waiting for, you know, the badness. And then you get these guys having their conversation. And this is very Clark Kent, Lois Lane stuff, the scene that's coming. This is one of my favorite scenes in the episode, where basically you got two people, each of whom have a secret, trying to get the other to leave without blowing their own secret, and not knowing that the other person has a secret that's equally large. And here we wanted to establish that Riley's the guy. You know, did you just pull rank on me? You got a problem with that? You know, he's the boss. And again, you even get the costume changes of Superman and Clark Kent. You know, he's got to get into his civilian gear. You know, everybody's got a secret. And here's where he comes off looking like a sexist doof. And Buffy gets pissed, but she seems weird too, because she's protecting her own secret. This was a fun scene to watch get filmed. I know that Blucas, since the show, has gone on to a lot of things. I think there's the tricorder. He's in a John Sayles movie. He was in a Kevin Smith movie. I think that a lot of people saw him on Buffy and liked what they saw. Now, there were a lot of rumors on the internet that Willow was going to be killed. And so we played with that. And the point of this scene, this is the end of Act 3 for you act structure freaks. The point of this scene at the end of Act 3 is that you really think this is going to happen, and we played it out and gave it the time and space it needed. And it's really horrible. We had to go really dark, but don't worry, we will be comedic after the act break. But we were saying, if we really were going to kill Willow, how would we do this scene? And this is how we did it. This is what we would do if we really were killing Willow. Here we go handheld, and it just gets more violent. And there's a rape metaphor here too. It's very disturbing. This is horrible. And here, this shot was very important to really establish Willow's been killed. And this is my favorite scene in the episode, where we learn what's wrong with Spike. The metaphor is obvious, you know, it's his first bout of sexual dysfunction and he just can't handle it. And we thought, you know, how far can we go with this? You know, the I can't get it up metaphor. And the answer is about as far as we could possibly go. He tries again, it doesn't work, you know, and you actually wind up feeling kind of sorry for the guy. And Willow winds up kind of feeling sorry for the guy and trying to help him with his dysfunction until she realizes that the thing he's dysfunctional with is killing her, so she just clocks him on the head with a lamp. I think the highest compliment I could possibly get was when Allie read this script. Joss came down on the set and she said to Joss, "This is great, you did a great job writing it," and Joss said, "Thank you." And he told me about it laughing later, and I ran down to the set and said, "No, I wrote this scene. Joss writes or rewrites just about everything. He's absolutely brilliant. But having him say thank you for something, you know, 3 words that I actually wrote, highest compliment I know. And I remember getting a laugh out of Allie that day. And here we get her self-loathing coming out. You know, again, there's just layers upon layers. And you have these 2 great actors doing the scene. You really can't go wrong with James and Allie in a scene together. And he admits that he was attracted to her as a victim for a while. And when he talks about the outfit that she wore, I actually had to go back and find an outfit. The stage direction there is he gives her a knowing look, and James, you know, really nails it. You know, for a big, I just think he's so funny. For a big, broad comedy scene, there's actually a lot of subtlety in this, and these 2 actors are just, you know, knocking it out of the park. And could she possibly be more adorable? You know, the answer, of course, is no. We're trying to figure out too how these guys, how their technology works, and one of the things is everybody has a body temperature. And they said something about, we got a cold one, you know. Spike is room temperature. Spike is not 98.6 degrees. Now this was tough too, because we have to maintain that they have this secret identities and that their secret identities are preserved throughout the episode. So we had to put Riley in this commando gear so Buffy couldn't see him. And then how he doesn't see Buffy is another issue. And here's where Willow figures it out and gets the hell out of there. But there was an automatic lockdown on all the dorm doors. You know, UC Sunnydale is rigged by the initiative. So they can lock all the doors at once. Now here, we were highly influenced by a movie that had come out recently. I won't say it was The Matrix, but it was a foreign film called The Flatrix. This is a very, very, very Matrix-influenced fight scene. We don't do the stop-motion stuff, but there's one line in particular that's an homage, or as I like to call it, a rip-off. And this was a nightmare to film. This was before I knew as much about production as I came to learn, and you know, you have a giant gas canister explode and the hallway fills with gas. Really hard to film. Don't write that. But they did it. Fire extinguisher about to go off. And here, even here, it's planted where Riley is breaking away from the others, and you know, you can't keep Spike. This is a very complicated fight scene too, because you got commandos, you got a vampire. I love this stunt here. But having a hallway filled with smoke is easy to write, and in comic books, easy to draw, but very, very difficult. And here, this contain this. That was a CGI effect, by the way. That was the big Flatrix ripoff. I hope the producers of the Flatrix are not watching this. This is a very complicated fight because you got 3 players. You got Spike, you got Buffy, you got a vampire. Oh, Spike is the vampire. You got Spike, you got Buffy, you got the commandos. This is also what I love about Buffy is it's classic romantic comedy. Love the way he pushes the smoke away as he goes out. Classic romantic comedy where in a classic screwball romantic comedy from the 30s, when they fight at the end, they're like verbally sparring, and in our show, when they fight, they're slamming each other's heads into, you know, telephone racks and breaking chairs over each other's heads. So he can't see her, she can't see him. They don't know who they were fighting. Lights back on. And later on in the episode, when the commandos are kind of debriefing, one of them says, whoever this guy was, he was big. Which I really like because it's Buffy. So we kind of really are planting. I mean, come on. How cool does Blucas look with his hair slicked back and his shirt sweaty? He's just cool. So all the stuff is planted, you know. These guys are in over their heads, and Buffy is cooler than they are. But you know, who's in charge of the situation? Who's controlling the situation? All this stuff is. These are the seeds for season 4, all laid out here. And here at the end, you got Maggie Walsh, you know, talking down to the homoerotic fashion spread patrol. And there they go. Evil mom. Something bad's gonna happen to her. I can just feel it. You know, they don't know. They're still lying to each other. And their lies will continue until episode 10 when they find out about each other. Episode 10. A little number we like to call Hush. Finally gets to break through to the girl he finds peculiar. You know, little victory for Jimmy Stewart. Nothing wrong with that. Our episode. Hope you liked it.